So, you've been keeping tarantulas for a little bit, and you've been getting pretty comfortable, you've been getting pretty good with your rehouses, and you feel like you're ready for that next skill check, that step up in difficulty. You've defeated the chained ogre, and now you want to step straight up to fighting Genichiro at the Ashina Castle. So on today's episode of Copperhead Exotics, we're going to talk about that next step up, the best intermediate level tarantulas that you can keep. These aren't going to be the craziest things that you can keep, but we might talk about a few old worlds, we might talk about some more defensive new worlds. This is for people who want a little bit more of that challenge. So without further ado, my name's Ryder, you're watching Copperhead Exotics, let's jump right in. How's it going, everybody? I hope that you're doing well today. As for myself, this week was definitely one of ups and downs for sure. On one hand, my channel saw a decent amount of growth and I was able to capture screenshots showing that on the same afternoon I hit 6'7" and 6'9". I hear from people online that those are funny numbers. But then over here, we've got this terrible black cloud of information that honestly just made my life infinitely worse upon hearing it. I don't think I'll ever recover from this information. So I'm definitely feeling a lot of emotions. And for those of you who are familiar with my channel at this point, you might be wondering why I don't have a snake in my hand. Numero uno, we are going to be talking about spiders today. I've made a bunch of videos in the past explaining why I don't handle spiders on camera, but in summary, spiders don't like to fall. I move my hands a lot when I talk. I don't like to risk that. And then numero dos. I actually wanted to do a video about snakes this week, but when I went to go film tonight, I realized that, conveniently enough, all of my snakes are in shed at the same time. Yeah, I came in here, I put on my mic, I set up the lights looking all pretty, and then this happens. They all did it together, like a group of high school girls going to the bathroom. And so with that information, I had to change my idea on the fly. I had to pivot. But don't worry, you're not going to be staring at my ugly mug the whole time. I'm going to go and get you some eye candy to look at. Be right back. There we go. It's been a while since I've had Chet on camera. The last time I had him on a video, he defecated on me. So with all that introductory information out of the way, let's start talking about spiders. Ah, yes, tarantulas. One of my favorite things. Whenever somebody enters the tarantula hobby, it's usually very common for them to pick a species that's known for being good for beginners. I've already kind of made my disclaimers once before that I don't necessarily think there's a beginner tarantula, more so there's beginner keepers, and some spiders are just suited better for that. So while I wouldn't generally recommend that you go out and just buy an orange baboon as your first tarantula, if you've done the research and you're ready for it, I wouldn't tell you not to do that either. But this video isn't about the person looking for a good beginner tarantula. This video is for that person who's looking for that step up, looking for that challenge. And since I've already made videos in the past detailing the differences between New World and Old World spiders, and you presumptively know the difference if you're watching this video, it means that some of the spiders I'm going to suggest are actually going to be from Africa and Asia and have a nasty little bite. So instead of me doing a disclaimer for every single species that I recommend on this video, I'll simply just say, if you're watching this video, I assume that you have some level of interest in higher level tarantula keeping, and I'm going to assume you've done your research to know whether or not an old world is something you are prepared for. But if you aren't 100% sure that you're ready for old worlds, or you still want a little bit of extra information differentiating them from new worlds, go ahead and watch the video that I made a few weeks back. I'll go ahead and throw a little time card right up there somewhere. I'll give you a second to go watch that if you need to. I'll just do my Vanna White impression here, you know. All right, you're back. Awesome. Let's move on, shall we? Starting off with a species that a lot of people would recommend as a beginner spider, and frankly, I disagree, and that is Chromatopelma cyanopubescens, otherwise known as the green bottle blue tarantula. It's no secret, I love green bottle blues. They're one of the staple spiders of the channel. Mr. Peanut over there is a green bottle blue. I adore this species. And so does most of the hobby, truthfully. And why wouldn't they? It's a beautiful spider. It goes through a ton of immense color changes. They get to be a great size. They're readily available captive bred. They're heavy webbers. And I mean really heavy webbers. No matter what enclosure you put these things in, it'll be caked in cotton candy webbing in a matter of days. And since all of these things are undeniably awesome, a lot of people go to get this spider. The thing that makes a green bottle blue an intermediate species as opposed to everybody else saying that it's a beginner species, for me is honestly the speed. Now that's not me trying to say that a green bottle blue is the fastest thing in the world. A Salmopaeus could beat this thing in its sleep. But green bottle blues are definitely a step up compared to some other beginner level species like your brachypelmas and your grammostolas. Whenever they want to, green bottles can boogie. And even though you're prepared for it, it's always just a smidgen faster than what you imagined it would have been. It's a universal experience whenever you start to keep species like that, where you open up the enclosure to try to film it and you think you're going to know how fast it's going to run, and then you slightly brown your britches whenever you see this thing disappear from your viewfinder immediately. And so for somebody who wants to step up a little bit and keep a New World species that's honestly super beautiful, get some experience with heavy webbers before you start getting into things like OBTs, the green bottle blue is honestly a perfect stepping stone to that, and you can buy them captive bred, readily available for anywhere between like $50 and $70, which for a spider as beautiful as this,
that's honestly not too bad.
As far as everything else is concerned, care for a green bottle blue is honestly supremely simple. I've always treated this species like a terrestrial species that will occasionally go upward. So despite it being from Venezuela, you do not need to mist this thing down every single day. Just make sure that you supply a water bowl somewhere in the enclosure, spray it down, and then make it to where that water bowl just overfills into the substrate. That's honestly enough moisture. Just be aware whenever you do your rehousings, this thing can boogie. And also it's a New World, so all of the webbing that you're going to be messing with more than likely has urticating hair wrapped within it. So just wear gloves. And speaking of wearing gloves, it brings us to our next one, which is going to be the Lasiodora parahybana, otherwise known as the salmon pink bird eater. I love saying that Latin name, by the way. It sounds like I'm casting like a spell on you. The salmon pink bird eater is honestly my recommendation if you want something that is truly going to get colossal in size. While it's not the biggest thing out there, it's within the top 5 in the planet, and if that's not big enough for you, then what are you really compensating for? For all intents and purposes, this thing is a stupidly big spider, and you get to have this stupidly big spider for a much cheaper cost and much better care requirements than the Theraphosa species, the Goliaths. Goliath species have this double-edged sword to them because they're massive and they have a ton of urticating hair that they throw at you, but at the same time, they really like deep, layered substrate with lots of humidity. So in comes the salmon bird eater, something that honestly gets almost as big, 11-inch leg span, but doesn't need all of the humidity and all of the additional hoopla that the Theraphosas do. And because they breed so frequently in captivity, you can find LPs literally anywhere. Most retail shops like Spider Shop and Fear Not Tarantulas will actually have sales where they sell LP slings for like $10 or $15 even. So for all of these pros that I'm saying, why is this categorized as an intermediate tarantula in my opinion? Well, the reason is flicking booty hair. Most Lasiodora species, but especially the parahybana, have a nasty habit of kicking urticating hair all over you. And while temperament may vary from individual to individual, a lot of these species tend to be a little bit more high-strung, and with the sheer size of them, a cloud of urticating hair is much more likely to get in your eyeball than any other spider. Now in my circumstance, I, thank God, have never been urticated by my bird eater.
Birdicated, if you will.
But from what I've read online and on the arachnivores from people who have, it's about as fun as watching a 3-hour movie with somebody who doesn't shut up. So yeah, it's not great. But the reason I place salmon bird eaters in the intermediate category as opposed to the advanced category is I think that this is a wonderful introduction to larger species, and because they are a little bit more apt to throw that urticating hair, if you can manage this species well, you can pretty much handle any New World spider well. But maybe you don't want to deal with urticating hair at all, and you want to venture across the seas, and you want to get yourself an Old World tarantula. Well, thankfully, since you've already got a little bit of experience under your belt,
I presume,
Old Worlds are a feasible option for you, especially some of the Old World species that are known for being a little bit more relaxed. Not to say that any Old World species can really be described as chill, but given the right enrichment, Old World spiders can be just as pleasant as New World spiders, and you really don't have to deal with defensive behavior all that often, assuming the spider is well taken care of. One of the species that I'm going to say is actually the Ceratogyrus marshalli and darlini, the rear-horned and the straight-horned baboons. These things are awesome! It's a tarantula with a literal horn shooting out of its head. And it also helps that for an Old World spider, these things are also readily available captive bred and tend to not be as defensive as some other species. I would say in terms of temperament, the horned baboons definitely fall on the side of skittish as opposed to defensive. While they're certainly capable of throwing a threat pose here or there, most of them would rather just run into a dirt hole somewhere than ever try to engage with you. You give this species a nice deep amount of substrate, they web up the top layer, and then you just have a pet hole. You won't see them out and about very much, but boy do they like to eat. Throw any type of feeder insect on top of that webbing and they come out faster than you can like this video. How about this? Let's run an experiment. How about you go down there and hit it now? I don't have a horned baboon right now, but I'm sure it would have eaten it faster than you did that. And for all these awesome qualities, the only reason why I say you would need a little bit of experience to care for a species like this is honestly two things. One, this is an old world spider, so medically significant venom, generally a little bit quicker. And two, because this thing is a fossorial spider, it means that your rehousings are going to be a little complicated. If you take a container like this and you fill it up probably 70% with substrate, and your spider decides to bolt down to the bottom of this, you're kind of screwed. Unless you just dig up all of the substrate from the enclosure to rehouse, which I don't recommend doing, which is why I don't keep a ton of fossorial species to begin with, despite thinking that a lot of them are very, very pretty. And then even if you do manage to get them somewhere up on the top of the enclosure for this rehouse, it's still an old world and it still can boogie. Popping off the lid of an old world spider's enclosure is kind of like slowly winding a jack-in-a-box. You know something scary is about to happen, you just don't know when. Those are really the only things I can speak to. Other than that, I think these are a tremendously good species and a great first old world if you're trying to dabble into that. I just love the horn on top of their head, even though it kind of looks like in Tom and Jerry when they got hit with an anvil and that little pink thing would shoot out. I still love them for it. And with all that in summary, those are some of the species I recommend if you're looking to try to step up in difficulty. If you're looking to fight Cloud in the Coliseum, but you're not quite ready for Ansem, all of those spiders should work for you. And while yes, there are a ton of other species out there that I think would perfectly slide into this intermediate category, obviously I don't have the time available or the patience to edit all of the spiders that I would love to talk about. Pretty much anything Psalmopaeus would work in this category, Monocentropas balfouri would work here, Harpactira pulchripes. There's a ton of awesome species that fit this intermediate category. But hey, it gives me more reason to make more spider content, which is always a good thing. If you enjoyed today's video and you haven't already done so earlier when we did our challenge, go ahead and leave a like on the bottom of this video and comment some of your favorite intermediate species. And while you're down there discussing spiders with me, why don't you go ahead and subscribe so that when I do make that video talking about your favorite species, you're there to watch it. I really do appreciate everyone for watching and subscribing to the channel. At the time of me filming this, I'm at 77 subscribers, which doesn't sound like a massive amount when you compare it to like Mr. Beast's hundreds of millions, but that's like 3.5 classrooms full of people, and I really do appreciate all of you for subscribing and supporting the channel. We're super close to being at 100, and in such a short time frame, this channel's only been up for like a month and a half. I'm really proud of the progress we've made, so let's keep it up. And with all that being said, thank you so much for watching today's episode of Copperhead Exotics. My name is Ryder, and I will see you next week. And everybody comment down below how good Chet was. He didn't poop on me at all during this video. All right, I might have just jinxed myself. I'm going to put him back up before he gets any ideas. Have a good one, you all.